So here's how you can use AI's deep research feature to time and purchase your crypto trades. First of all, I should start out by saying that this is not financial advice and I'm not a financial advisor. If you go broke, then from opening up a 100x leveraged long and then you get liquidated and start a YouTube channel to make money, it's not my fault. Okay, so where you want to begin is investing.com. Search for investing.com economic calendar and you will see the most impactful events that are coming out based on country. The most important ones I would say are from the US, and you want to have the most high impact, high importance events. So I'm just going to filter it out like so, and then I'll go by week. You can see we have CPI numbers, President Trump's speech, and PPI numbers, which from my experience are all the most impactful. So what you will then do is go into Prompt Cowboy, use a prompt like this. Feel free to copy it if you'd like, or feel free to alter it to your liking. But from my experience, these recent news events, as well as things like geopolitics and global liquidity, are what have the biggest impact on the cryptocurrency space as a whole. So this first part of the prompt is just saying, based on these events that occurred this week in the US, summarize the information from different sources, like a traditional finance source like Bloomberg, a crypto native source like Cointelegraph, and then tech publication. In the last 5 days, I'm telling it to use 3 different sites for each type of source. So again, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but this is Prompt Cowboy. So we're using it to improve our prompt. Then I'm telling it to analyze recent geopolitical events as well as global liquidity and macroeconomics as a whole. I also want it to use on-chain metrics that are discussed on Gemini.com's blog and Cointelegraph, and use 3 other sources. Then I will tell it to analyze how Bitcoin and other cryptos are affected, and then also use the correlation between Bitcoin, the SPY or S&P, gold, bonds, etc., as well as the impact of global liquidity and recent on-chain metrics to come to a short, mid, and long-term conclusion for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Sol. Then provide for me an easy, too long, did not read summary of their findings. Okay, so I'm putting it in here, and then here are the different improvement suggestions. Okay, so here are some of their examples. Here we'll just say we have access to this. We can retrieve the on-chain data. I'm familiar with all of that, okay, because I want all of that in there. Source verification, I don't have active subscriptions, so I can access these sources through public websites. Analysis time frame, I'm interested in more short term, and I don't want to limit it to the last 5 days. Okay, so I'll go ahead and click improve prompt. Let's see how that changes things. Okay, so here's our improved prompt, and it looks like we have to manually input on-chain data sources here, which we can easily do. So just a quick Google search of on-chain metrics, and we've got the block, Glassnode, and CryptoQuant, which are all pretty good in my opinion. And so we will go ahead and add them in. So we'll copy this, go into Gemini Pro, and select deep research. We will then paste that into Gemini and fill in the sections where we have to replace. The first part is right here, and we will go ahead and take this website and put it in here. Then we'll take the next one, which is CryptoQuant, and paste that in here. And lastly, we will replace this. I just realized that Glassnode is behind a paywall, so I'll go ahead and take the first 2 links and just put them in here. So now let's go ahead and run the deep research. Okay, so here's the plan that it's come out with. We'll go ahead and take a quick skim of that. It's basically reiterating the things that we want it to do. Then it'll analyze the results and then create a report. So I'm gonna go ahead and click start research. Okay, so now we can see it's working its magic, and I'm going to come back to this again in a few minutes. One quick look here is if you update the page, you can see everything that it's going through in terms of the sites that it's visiting and analyzing. If we go here, we'll have a list of the sites that it's browsed for its analysis. Okay, so it looks like our report is done, and so here is a quick run through of the findings. So here we have the key findings. Basically, it's telling us about the different difficulties that these cryptos can face moving forward, stuff about geopolitics like I told it to do, what the crypto market's reaction was, on-chain metrics, and the multi-horizon outlook. It looks like as of the time of this recording, the outlook is pretty neutral, with some sideways chop rather than like blasting upwards in price or falling down in price pretty significantly. So this section is just going over some of the macroeconomic factors such as the CPI and PPI report, which if you do want to read through it, feel free to pause this video. Then here we have the Federal Reserve's impact on the markets. Here we've got stuff about global monetary policy. And then this section, section 3, is everything about the geopolitics. Here we got US, China. Here's some interesting stuff about on-chain metrics right here. So we got market sentiment and investor behavior, capital flows right here. This is quite interesting too, the derivatives market of how many degenerate gamblers are opening up positions in the derivatives market, and then the market dynamics. This is quite interesting. So basically it's giving us a summary of what happened with price with Bitcoin, market sentiments, and then what short-term areas of support are. So this is the areas that you can place your bids at between 114,000 to 117,000 per Bitcoin. Here is the Ether analysis. It doesn't look like it's giving us key areas of support to place your bids for Ether, and neither is it saying it here for Solana. So that's going to be up to your discretion. Okay, now we get into the inter-asset correlation of Bitcoin versus the S&P and the dollar index, gold, etc. Analysis of the correlation. And then now here is what I wanted to look at. So it's saying that over the next 1 to 4 weeks, what we're probably going to likely see with 60% probability is that price will just trade sideways in a consolidation range, and then a 30% chance of it seeing a deep correction, so like the start of some sort of bear market, and then a 10% probability that it's just going to keep blasting. And again, this is over the course of the next 1 to 4 weeks. Midterm is saying that we have a higher likelihood, 30% of being bullish over the next 1 to 6 months rather than being bearish, but the highest probability is that it's still just going to be choppy. And then long-term projection says all this stuff, which I'll let you pause the video to read that. So here's a few more things right here. Again, here is a prompt that I was using with Prompt Cowboy. Feel free to edit it as you please based on whatever you think is best, and I hope this serves you well.